Hi, and welcome to my first video on labs to labels. In each video, I'll be highlighting a different ingredient and discussing a little bit of the science behind it. I'll also be giving you a couple of my own recipes. We start off with apples. The favourite fruit in Germany, France, the US and the UK, with over 7,500 different types or cultivars, if you want to be sciencey, that we consume, the apple is the most widely cultivated fruit in the world, giving us a lot of choice for what slices we put in our lunchboxes. And that doesn't even include crab apples, which are useful in their own right. Whilst they grow all over the world, from China to Tasmania, sometimes even known as the apple isle, over half of the apples in commercial circulation are a single cultivar called the American Delicious. The apple is a pome fruit, along with pears and quince. They're all members of the rose family, and this flesh here, this is the enlarged tip of the flower stem. It's believed that most of the apples we eat originated from the mountains of Kazakhstan, and that they became so widespread across Europe by travelling with invading Roman armies. Talking about apples' widespread appeal, it's an ingredient that has found its way into dishes all over the globe in various forms. From providing sweetness in the sauce of Japanese curry rice, to a traditional apple sauce eaten with Liechtenstein's Käseknödel, to part of the meat mix in South Africa's bobotie. It's worth saying that not all bobotie recipes call for apple, but a significant proportion do. I'm following a recipe here from taste.co.za, and I'll leave the link down in the description. Start by collecting together all of your ingredients. First, chop up your onion into nice small bite-sized pieces. Then do the same with your apricots. Slice the crusts off of your bread, peel your apple, and grate it nice and fine. Tear up your bread, and add 2 tablespoons of buttermilk. Crack your eggs and place 2 of them into a Tupperware pot. Give them a good old shake to get them all broken. Add about 1/3 of this mixture to your bread and mash it up. You can use a fork. Heat up your pan. Add your butter and let it melt. Then add your onions and cook until translucent. Add your meat, break it up, and cook it down until it's nice and brown. You can add your apricots, your apple, your raisins, your spices, and your bread mixture now. Give them a nice old mix in. Add this to a buttered tray. And make your custard by adding buttermilk and turmeric to your eggs and giving them a good shake. Pour this all over the top of your meat mixture and press into the corners. Cook in an oven at 180 degrees for approximately 25 minutes. And then it will come out lovely and yellow and smelling absolutely gorgeous. The apples we eat can be split into 4 groups. Cider apples are rich in tannins and high in acid. This means that they control the alcoholic fermentation and help clarify the liquid when making, you guessed it, cider. Dessert apples, like this one, which many of us just refer to as eating apples, are crisp and juicy to eat, as are, but a bit bland when cooked. They tend to disintegrate when heated in comparison to cooking apples, like England's brownie apples. They hold their shape better after heating. On average, cooking apples have a pH level of around 3, more acidic than eating apples, pH level of around 3.4. These guys have a sugar level of 12%, whereas eating apples are closer to, say, 50. This can make these a bit tart and unpleasant when eating raw. Finally, we have the dual-purpose apple, which, as its name suggests, can be used to cook when young and lower in sugar, and then to eat when slightly older and the flavours mellow a bit. Apples are a versatile ingredient, and different cultivars naturally have different flavours. The characteristic flavour comes from a compound called ethyl acetate, which is a type of ester, a molecule made when acid combines with an alcohol. The acid is normally found in the cell fluid, which is the bit in the middle of the cell, and the cell membrane, the bit which keeps everything in. And the alcohol is made as a product of cell metabolism, which are the reactions which a cell helps perform. These two molecules combined create a flavourful new molecule, known as an ester. Fruits have a vast array of esters in them, but the taste of most fruits are predominantly characterised by one or two. However, this doesn't mean that the flavour is one-dimensional. Some apples also have qualities of honey, nuts, bubblegum, spicy and floral. Many of you will know that apples pair beautifully with cheese and with red cabbage, but there may be a few others you haven't thought about before, like with black pudding or with herring or shellfish. Try it in a salad with celery, walnut, beetroot and mustard, or stewed, along with cinnamon, vanilla, cloves, lemon and cream. Probably the most famous pairing, however, is with pork. We've all seen pictures like this one, and I must admit, I'm salivating a bit even now. Here's a recipe for pork chops with apple, done in just 30 minutes.
Begin by getting all of your ingredients ready. Chop your potatoes into manageable chunks. And add your potatoes to water that's been nice and salted. Get them up to a nice boil. Chop up your apple and slice it into semi-thin slices. You can keep the peel on. Now score the fat on your pork chops. This means that as you cook it, it won't curl up on itself. Instead, your meat will retain its nice shape. Add your apples to a pan with lemon juice and sugar and give a good old stir. You'll just leave these at the side to start caramelising. Add oil to a pan and get it nice and hot. And rub in salt and sugar onto your meat. Put your meat into the pan and cook until brown on both sides. This shouldn't take too long, about 5 minutes. To the same pan, add maple syrup and treacle, and stir.
Once it's beginning to get more runny, add your mustard.
And make sure you're just checking on your apples and your potatoes. My potatoes were cooked here, so I drained them and cooked some broccoli in the same pan. Add your pork chops back into your sauce and plate your potatoes, your meat, your lovely caramelised apples, and your tender stem broccoli. Now pour over some of that remaining sauce, and there you have it. 30 minutes to a delicious dinner.
So, let's talk science. Apples are fantastic sources of antioxidants, particularly a type called phenolic antioxidants, which are mainly found in the skin, such as chlorogenic acid, also present in coffee. Eating some types of apples can give you the same amounts of antioxidants as 30 portions of orange, and that's pretty impressive. This is dependent on the exact variety though. The European crabapple, for example, has 15 times more antioxidants than the Golden Delicious. As great as apples are though, I personally can't stand them as soon as they start to get the slightest bit grainy. So why does this happen? Well, first we need to sidetrack a bit to talk about a molecule called pectin. Pectin is made up of branched chains of galacturonic acid, which bond to a gel between celluloses in the cell wall, which is the outermost layer of a cell. This gel is made up of a mix of carbs, minerals, proteins, and waters. Harold McGee, in his book On Food and Cooking, describes this gel as a cement, with the cellulose acting as reinforcing bars. Apples are made up to 25% air, in comparison to pears' 4%. As apples get older, the cell walls start to soften, as pectin starts to be broken down by an enzyme called pectin methylesterase. As the cell walls start to soften, the interiors dry out, making the cells less turgid, or plump. When you bite on a nice, young, firm apple, you pierce the cells, and the tasty apple juice can ooze on out. But if there's lots of air around, and the cells are a bit limp and flaccid, all chewing does is push the walls together and push the cells apart, making the apple taste all bitty and horrible. Interestingly, in other fruits, this is taken a step further. In ripe, juicy fruits like peaches and melons, the cell walls get so weakened that they basically disintegrate, meaning that juices can flow right on out as they please. The flavour of apples also mellows when they get older. This is because the malic acid in them gets consumed and turned into energy, making them less sour. Understanding pectin can also help to understand apples' behaviour when cooking. It's one of the main reasons that some apples keep their shape when cooked and others break down a bit more easily, as higher pectin helps keep the cell wall intact. Acid also helps strengthen the pectin, so a high acid, high pectin apple, i.e. a cooking apple, will hold its shape. By blanching a fruit at a high temperature first, our old friend pectin methylesterase is disabled when it hits 82 degrees Celsius, so it stops the wall from breaking down as much. Sugar also plays a part in maintaining cell wall integrity by pulling water away from the pectin and stopping it from dissolving. So, if you want to make certain that your apples stay nice and firm whilst cooking, you should blanch them at a high temperature first with sugar and an acid like lemon juice. If you want to make a puree, however, you should begin cooking without sugar, so the fruit will soften quicker and then sweeten later. The pectin that remains will help keep your gels and purees nice and thick, so crab apples, which are not particularly tasty on their own, but are very high in pectin, can be used to help make nice thick apple sauce. Here's an experiment where I compare adding sugar at the beginning of the cooking process to the end of the cooking process.
For this experiment, all you'll need is some apples, some lemon juice and some sugar. Peel your apples and chop them into nice small chunks. You don't have to be too careful about this, they're just going in a pan. Heat your pan and add your apples. We're going to add in some water here to make up for the moisture that we lose by not adding the lemon juice at the beginning. It takes about 5 minutes for the apples to get a bit mushy, and then another 5 for them to get ready to puree. We then add the brown sugar and lemon juice after this point. We put this into a blender and it gives us a lovely smooth apple puree. If we, however, begin by adding the apples along with the lemon juice and along with the sugar, it takes us about 10 minutes to get to a stage where they start to soften. It's about double the time it takes for adding the sugar and lemon juice after. These purees taste exactly the same. However, the one on the left took 10 minutes start to finish, but the one on the right took about 20 minutes start to finish.
Thanks so much for watching, and hopefully you've learned a little about how to better use apples in your day-to-day cooking. Join me next video where I'll be talking all things bread.